the rock and roll era is dead, and this is the final gasps. There will always be rock and roll bands. Call it what you like, punk, call it anything, but a bunch of misfits with like guitars making a hell of a racket. If Bruce Springsteen's still alive, you'll probably be playing a tiny little pub above a kebab shop.
Hello and welcome to this mixtape. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Jim Reid from the Jesus and Mary chain. How are you, Jim?
Hi, good, thanks.
So we're really looking forward to seeing you touring in support of the new album, Glasgow Eyes. Tell us a little bit about the album and the title as well. I wasn't sure. I googled the title. It was quite interesting actually what I found. But where did you come up with the title for the album?
It kind of came about by accident, to be honest. We found ourselves back in Glasgow almost 40 years after the band began in Glasgow. And we thought, well, let's make the album title even if it's obscure, but some mention of Glasgow. And then William was he does this digital artwork, and he decided he was going to do the album cover. So he brought some stuff into the studio, and it was all things like someone's face with the eyes all scored out and things like that. One of which ended up as the actual cover, but there were more messages than that. And I just looked at the pictures and I said, "That's Glasgow Eyes." What did it mean? I don't know. Why did I say it? No idea.
Yeah.
But we both looked at each other and thought, album title. So that was
Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was a look you give someone in the pub in Glasgow, like a Glasgow kiss. Do you know what I mean? If it's just like a filthy look.
yeah.
Or
Well, you know
something
what?
like that.
I should make up a more interesting story, but that's the truth.
What came up on Google when I googled Glasgow Eyes, apart from obviously the album, was a Glasgow coma scale or something it's called, and it's like a measure of like
Mm.
levels of consciousness when you're in a coma, and obviously eye movement is one of the things that they look at. So I wondered if it was some sort of deep reference to levels of consciousness, but apparently not. No.
What would you know what? You know what? It is from now on. Now you've told me that. That's what I'm going to say it means.
You can have that in your next interview, mate. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask you about the new album was the track JAMCOD. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that stands for Jesus and Mary Chain Overdose. Would that be a correct assumption?
That would be absolutely true. It's not referring to the Jesus and Mary chain overdosing on drugs. It's
Yeah.
referring to the Jesus and Mary chain overdosing on themselves. It's
Okay.
about, we kind of rather, famously broke up on stage at a gig in Los Angeles in 1998 at a place called the House of Blues. And it's about that night. The band imploded. We just we had enough of ourselves and each other. And the band just like disintegrated, and we overdosed on the band, and the band was no more for 9 years.
Did you write that with William, and did you find it kind of a sort of a cathartic thing to write together?
We don't actually write together, actually.
Okay.
We never really have. We have on B-sides in the past, but mostly we write separately. William's much more prolific than I am, and I kind of struggle to keep up. But that song, I mean, I wrote the title down on a scrap of paper the night after that House of Blues episode.
Wow. Okay.
And I kept it for years. And I actually meant to write a song about it then, and I just never got round to it. And there was a whole bunch of titles that I had for a song that was going to be House of Blues, Cocaine and Disabled. I sing them all in the song, but all I had was a bunch of titles, and so I just like finished it off for this album. You get to the age that we are, and you tend to kind of reflect a lot on like how you got to this stage, and that's what's going on there. You look back at the major episodes in your life, and you think, could we have done that any different? Did it really need to happen? And the answer is no, it didn't. But that's just us looking back at the disasters, the highs and lows, as they say.
Sure. So talking about the highs, Fuji Rocks, you probably would have played Japan before, but have you played that a festival before?
Played Played Japan many times, never played Fuji Rocks before. So yeah, everybody tells me it's great. It's in a ski resort, which is a bit bizarre, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and is it actually near Fuji? That's what I wonder, because somebody told me it's at the foot of Mount Fuji, but then I looked it up on the maps and it's nowhere near Mount Fuji,
Right.
so I couldn't figure it out.
All the
But
promo
you get
artwork
a view of
all the promo artwork that I've ever seen for that festival has got Mount Fuji, like, heavily featured in the background. Yeah, so, mate, I'm gonna have to look that up myself now and find out. So the next
Right.
question I had for you, Jim, was obviously you mentioned it at the start there, 40 years of songwriting and being in bands and stuff. Obviously, the business has changed a lot in that time with technology and stuff like that, but have you changed as a band in terms of how you work and how you write songs and your process? Has that changed much at all in 40 years?
Weirdly, the process hasn't changed that much. I mean, obviously, we've changed as people. Everybody grows. It's different in that respect. But when you get to the recording studio, it's remarkably similar to what it was in 1984 when we first set foot in a recording studio. It's just the technology's gotten better, so it's quicker now. Because of technology, there is more options. When you got to the studio in 1984, it was like you're against the clock. You've got a couple of days to sort this shit out, and you're not really sure how it all works. Now it's like you got engineer, you got computers. You sort of describe what you want. It goes, "You mean like this?" And magically it just appears there. But the fact of the matter is, it's still a couple of guys, in our case, a couple of guys in the studio. You've got your songs. How the hell are you going to record these? So that's always the same. It's a bit easier and a bit quicker. That's
Yeah.
all. But essentially,
Sure. And what about your audience, Jim? When you're playing live and you look out into the crowd, how's the demographic of your audience over the years? Have they sort of grown with you, or do you still see a fair amount of youngsters in the crowd?
it's a real cross section out there. I guess it's to do with the internet. I mean, internet's like, sort of Pandora's box, but a lot of it's good. And one of the good parts is that you look out there and there's kids out there that just simply weren't even near being born when we started out. And it's great, but there's the baldy grey heads as well, you know what I mean, that were there at the beginning. So
Yeah.
it's it's a healthy cross section of people, I would say.
So the last question I want to ask, and this just come up just this morning. I was listening to a podcast, and as someone who's been in a band for a long time, I wanted to get your take on this particular scenario. I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about the demise of the band as a musical entity, if you like. And the stat that was given was
Mm.
that in the 80s and 90s, at number one in the UK, that bands were around 140, 145 weeks of the year. In the first 4.5 years of this decade, it's 3.
Mm.
3 weeks in 4 years, bands have
That
been at number 1.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, though. It really doesn't surprise me. It's the end of an era, and it's the rock and roll era is dead, and
Mm,
this is the final gasps. It's
mm,
not dead in as much as there will always be rock and roll bands.
mm,
Call it what you like, punk, call it anything, but a bunch of misfits with like guitars making a hell of a racket. That will continue, but it's just been shoved underground, like pretty much like what happened to jazz when rock and
mm,
roll came along. Jazz continued, but it was no longer mainstream. And that's what's happening now to rock and roll. It's hanging on in there in the mainstream. There's still bands that can fill stadiums. That will start to become less so. And I think that, fast forward 10, 20 years, there'll be no rock bands. There'll be no bands in any, I don't even know there'll be a chart. But if there is, it won't contain any bands at all, I don't think. And
yeah.
you'll go and see bands. If Bruce Springsteen's still alive, you'll probably be playing a tiny little pub above a kebab shop or something
Oh,
like that.
imagine that, that'd be awesome. I imagine it'll be some sort of AI-generated hologram of Bruce
Yeah,
Springsteen that we'll be going to see
yeah.
at the Sphere in Las Vegas or whatever for $500 a ticket or something like that. Just finally on your merch and your store, Jim, at themarychain.com, I noticed your vinyls flown off the shelves. I went to grab a copy of the Live at Barrowlands, and that was all sold out. But there's a lovely blue vinyl pressing of the new album. Are you a big vinyl collector yourself? And has the resurgence in vinyl worked for you as a band?
And well, I mean, obviously, vinyl for people my age there's a big sort of emotional connection to it because I grew up. That was how I engaged with music when I was like 5 years old, up till you know until now. I mean, if I'm being totally honest, I don't. I've got a turntable and it's not even set up. I keep meaning to set my amp and my turntable up. Haven't done it for years. Keep meaning to the kind of the kids that kind of get into vinyl now, it's a kind of a bizarre thing though, because they think they're getting the vinyl experience and they go out and buy all of these vinyl albums and they play them on these reissued turntables that have got a speaker on them that's about the size of a transistor radio. And you know what I mean? It sounds like, if you put on a Sex Pistols album on one of those things, it sounds like a budgie singing a Sex Pistols song, and you think that's not the vinyl experience. You're not even coming close. If you want to get
Yeah.
the vinyl experience, you lay out some money and get a decent amp, some decent speakers, and a decent turntable. Not one of
one
those crappy little things that they on Amazon for 20 quid. You know what I mean?
the one that gets me is the Bluetooth speakers with the turntable. It's like, what what is the point? You're just
Yeah.
taking that beautiful analog and compressing it into a
Yeah.
digital signal, and yeah,
Well, that's
oh
right.
man, so frustrating.
It's become just one of those things. I think kids think it's cool, but they don't know why, and they certainly aren't getting the experience.
And on your book, Jim, I saw you can pre-order the book that you've written with William on your website. How was it writing a book with your brother, and how did that work, like, practically? Was it like chapter each, or did you both have a sort of a viewpoint on a situation, or how did it work?
It's actually we haven't written a book. I mean, what we've
Okay,
done
right,
here is we've done many. I mean, I'm talking about many interviews with a guy called Ben Thompson.
right.
Uh, the questions aren't in the book. It's just it reads like us just like telling our story, and it's the true story. I mean, a lot of people when they tell people like like how it all came together, they manicure things. I mean, this is it, warts and all. I would say, in fact, maybe just warts. That's what I would say.
Yeah, yeah,
It's us telling it like we remember it, and I suppose the amusing or odd bit is because we're both describing the same situations, but we've got different memories of them, and it goes into everything. Goes into, as I said, the breakup of the band in 1998. It's his version of events, and there's mine. Don't listen to his. Mine's that's how it really went down, chaps. Yeah, it kind of just goes up to about that period. There's a bit about what goes on afterwards. I mean, but it's up to about 1998
sure.
mostly.
Okay, yeah. So again, that's through the website, themarychain.com, if you want to pre-order the book. Okay, so let's drop into the mixtape track choices, Jim. And the radio show that I present is called The Mixtape. So I like to get guests to come on and make up an imaginary mixtape, and it's just kind of like a fun way of exploring your influences and inspirations. So track one, I always like to kick off the radio show, and any compilations or tapes that I play or that I make up as with an attention grabber. So what would you choose for that?
I would choose Whitey on the Moon by Gil Scott-Heron from my attention grabber, just because I think it'll grab your attention. It's that simple. It's more of a poem's like set to a drum beat, really, and it's like he was like, it's the last poets, and Gil Scott-Heron basically invented rap music in the 1960s and early 70s, and it's like rap before rap existed, and it must have scared the bejesus out of whitey in middle class America at the time.
Yeah, I played Pieces of a Man, I think, on the show a few weeks ago. I absolutely love that track. Big Gil Scott-Heron fan. Fantastic choice, mate. Track two, Jim. And what's a song that you sing loud and proud in the car or the shower, mate?
That would be In the Street by Big Star. I think it was on
Okay.
#1 records.
Yeah.
That's just a really upbeat, sort of kind of brilliant, just kind of like you're getting ready to go out. You're looking for something to get you in the mood. This will do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
In
good
the
Saturday
street,
night song. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
brilliant.
Absolutely. Absolutely great choice. I'm aware of the time, Jim, so I'm going to rattle through quite quickly. And track 3 is a cover version, mate. What would you pick for that?
Well, I'm not sure if you'll be able to track this down. It's hopefully you will. I mean, it's "Head Held High" by Subway Sect, cover of a Velvet Underground song.
Mm,
And I love the Velvet Underground, but I think this is a better version than the Velvets. It's just so good. It's almost like the Velvets, I think, lose doing a kind of a raunchy vocal thing on it, which to me always ruined the song. And Subway Sect version is it, as far as I'm concerned. If I want to hear this song, this is
mm.
what I go to. So if you can track it down, please do.
Yeah, yeah, I will have a good look for that. I was expecting some Lou Reed or Velvet Underground from the track on the new album, Lou Reed, but spelt your Reed. There's a Big Velvet's feel on that track. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. That was one of my favourite tracks off the new album. And track 4, Jim, is what's a song that you would have liked to have played to your 18-year-old self?
Well, a lot of these are interchangeable category-wise,
Mhm.
or as much. What I should say, could all be the underrated tracks, and this is like what I'd like to play to my younger self. It's "Universal Plan" by Earl Brutus. Do you know Earl Brutus?
Yeah.
We had this guy that Nick Sanderson, the singer for Earl Brutus, was our drummer for years and years and years. And I'd love to just play this to myself and just say, hey, you're going to know this guy. This guy's going to be your mate, and you're going to go and see some of this band's shows, and they're going to be some of the most exciting shows that you've ever seen. Earl Brutus were the best bands that never happened, but that's not the category. I just love to have played it to my
No, that's
self.
fine, that's fine. What sort of stuff were you listening to as a teenager and around that sort of time, Jim?
Well, it was really difficult to choose this because a lot of the things that I would have chose, I kept thinking, wait a minute, I was listening to that anyway when I was 18. I was listening to a lot of the things that I still listen to, the Velvets, the Beatles, the Stones, 13 Floor Elevators, the Sex Pistols, Subway Sect, and even things I was thinking technology based. DAF, I'll play something by them. I think, oh, fuck it. I was playing them when I was like 21, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
it was like a couple of years later, but it was too close. So I thought, well, what can I choose? And I chose
yeah.
it.
No,
Lovely Next Sun.
fantastic choice again. And track 5, Jim, if you were looking to woo someone, if you were making up a mixtape for a romantic interest, what song would you put on for that, mate?
I chose The Autumn Stone by The Small Faces for this one, just because it's such a beautiful song, and I can't imagine that it wouldn't do the job of setting the right mood,
Yeah,
romantic.
absolutely. Yeah. Someone chose "Submission" by the Sex Pistols once for that choice, which which is a bizarre one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, yeah, it's a great one. Yeah, that was a great choice. I always remember that. Brilliant. Shout out, Shane, if you're listening. Okay, and finally, Jim, track 6 is, your underappreciated track, something that you feel doesn't get the recognition that it deserves.
Well, there's about a million songs I could have chosen for this. I chose, and I hope I'm pronouncing it properly, Aruka by Medicine, just because I think it's such a brilliant track that when you say it to people, they kind of look at you blankly, like, who? What?
Mhm.
Fan from, I think, LA, at least I was in LA when I first encountered them in about 1990. And it's weird. I was in Warner Brothers Records in LA in 1990. And a guy that one of the big head honchos called Steve Baker, and he played me this song, and everything that I'd ever heard in that building was like diarrhea stuck to your shoes. And he put this on, and I was like, "Fuck!" Oh, don't know if I can swear here. And I was like, "Jesus Christ, what is that?" And it was a band called Medicine, and they've got loads of other brilliant songs, but this is probably one of the most immediate, grabs you right away.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm looking forward to that choice. The only reason I asked that question is so that I can get introduced to new stuff by people like
Thanks.
yourself, Jim. So thanks for that. Much appreciated. Just to round it out, Jim, future plans for the band. What have you got going on? Well, I did see some more tour dates later in the year.
We're going to America. We're doing a tour with the Psychedelic Furs in America, and we're coming back. Gosh, we're doing somewhere or other. I can't remember where it fits in. We're doing the Green Man Festival in Wales, and then we're coming back, doing a few shows in the UK at the end of the year. A couple of Barrowlands, playing somewhere like Bristol, and I don't remember where else. It's a busy year for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It is. Thanks so much for your time, Jim. I really appreciate you coming on the show, mate. Take care.
Okay, well, thanks very much. Bye.
Thanks, Jim. See you, mate.